Welcome to the tour of my sewing space. This is the sewing room in our house. So it's not the one in the studio that I work from, but this is just as much my happy place as the studio is. And this is where I do most of my work on the weekends and after work. So I wanted to give you a look around, and this is very much a real life, not perfect, not everything's perfectly cleaned up and picked up, but it is an accurate representation of what the space is like to work in and what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. Although admittedly, there are times when it's even messier, especially when I have a big deadline or project in the works. Now, right there, you can see the studio. So this is above our garage, and it is really a great size space. I am limited because of these slanted walls, but it's still a beautiful space, nice and bright, and lots of room for all my things, including my long arm here, which isn't the prettiest machine, but I am so lucky to have one, and my big pile of quilt tops that are waiting to get quilted and other projects that I have in the works. So I'm going to take you around sort of section by section, area by area, and just explain a few things. So like I said, here is my long arm, and I try to keep it clear. It's definitely got a few goodies on there, but those would be really easy to take off for when I'm using it to quilt a quilt. I love this particular long arm because there's shelving underneath, and as you can see, I definitely take advantage of it. Here I have little storage containers. I bought these at Costco, but some other lovely ladies told me that you can buy these very similar ones at Michael's, and they're great for holding projects. So I have one project per each of these containers. The other thing I've done over here, you can see these project bags, and I've started using those. Those are the Tula Pink project bags, and they're also great where I put the pattern, I print the pattern or the pattern that I purchased, I cut the kit, I have everything I need for that particular project so that when I'm ready to work on it, it's really easy to grab that bag and have everything you need. Here I have, as you can well imagine, having access to so much beautiful fabric. I tend to collect a lot of fabric, and so I have in here certain bits of fabric, Tilda solids, different Tilda collections. I have Acufactum back here. These are baskets from IKEA, and they hold, for instance, this basket, I have the linens from Acufactum. This one I have prints. This one I have their basics collections. So I try to keep them categorized that way. So although this is not, the prettiest, and I actually have thought about maybe putting along the bottom here a skirt to hide the mess, because although it is organized, it's still, a little messy in my eyes, and I'd love to be able to cover that. So that's something I may do in the future. I love to add a lot of vintage elements to my spaces. So this is a neat old vintage cupboard that I painted with, I think it was with chalk paint, distressed it a little bit, a vintage sewing machine that I thought was just really pretty, that I found inexpensively. And this holds a lot of like glue sticks and other crafting goods. Then we get to this shelf. So this shelf is actually an old bookshelf that my mom bought for me when I was in veterinary school, and I've repurposed it for fabric. So I have some treasured fabric there. I've started doing this cartonnage, and I'm pretty much obsessed with it and plan to cover all the things with fabric for storage. How beautiful is that? And of course my Bilecki bears, which are actually bunnies, and I just got her, and look how beautiful she is. So I got him first and decided he needs a girlfriend. So there she is. They're absolute works of art, just exquisitely made. Then I have some of my special things like my Nikki Franklin kits. And these boxes are just our shipping boxes, but they're so beautiful. I had to steal a few and I can use them for storage. Now in here we have more fabric, big surprise. In the middle, I've done those project bags again, and I have all these stacked, and I have certain collections in each one. Some of them have 2 collections in each, but I have it all organized. And I like to call this naturally distressed finish here, but you know, it's not perfect and I don't mind. I like having things that are lived in and vintage and a little bit imperfect. Then I have my work area. Sorry, you may be able to hear that outside. It's a beautiful day, so people are out on their motorbikes and whatnot. Here is just my work area, so it's really nothing special. I do plan to paint this little vintage table, which holds the printers. So I try to make it a little prettier than just a, you know, super utilitarian workspace with some antique items. I got that from England. That's not an antique, but I thought it was so pretty. Little things that I've sewn. So that's where the work happens. And then I have these 2 desk areas. So when my children were smaller, this area is where they'd sit and color and craft perler beads or whatever they were working on. And they just work in their own rooms. So I've sort of reclaimed this space. I have my Cricut there and just some other craft things. We just got these Toverlux lamps in and I'm totally obsessed with them. They're so beautiful and you can leave them natural, but I plan to paint or stain mine. And this is where I am most of the time. So this is my little sewing alcove and I have my machine, and one day I may be able to invest in a fancy table with the lifts that will lift the machine up or down. But for now I have this one. It's a big machine, very heavy, and it's an embroidery machine. So I have this table that has metal reinforcing and it's great. It doesn't shake or anything when I use it. I have my pressing area here and I made this polka dot mat. It's MDF covered with insulated batting and then just a canvas material on top. And then I also have the wool mat on top of that. But what's great is I can just sew, turn. I don't even have to leave my chair. I can press and go back to sewing. If I want to stand and press, I just bought this little cheapy ironing board that fits right on top and it puts it at the perfect height to stand and press. Here, I bought this cabinet from Home Sense probably over 10 years ago. It's meant for mugs, but I use it for little precious things, collectibles, and fabric. So this is mostly just display fabric, but I have little things in here such as this recreated, so it's not an antique, but it's recreated pin cushion. It's silver though, my mom gifted it to me, and this is an antique. Silver, small little Victorian measuring tape, and that will actually open. I do it very carefully because it's so fragile. And just other little special things. I have my Tilda dolls that I purchased from a doll maker in Russia. I have some antique and vintage children's sewing machines. This was from a retreat I went to with friends, Crabapple Hill. It was wonderful, so fun. And this was actually in our old kitchen. We've renovated our kitchen and it was for spices, but I've used it for threads and it works really well. And this is from IKEA. I believe they still sell them. And I just have, you know, every little bits or, you know, glue sticks and chalk pens and all those kinds of things those little things that you need close at hand when you're sewing. Then I have this cabinet. So this is not so pretty part, but it's all my essentials for pressing. And then I have my chair here, very comfortable, height adjustable. And in here, I'd like to show you what the drawers are like. So this is an Alex drawer unit from IKEA. A lot of people have these. I just purchased this not long ago, and my husband is going to customize it for me. So my Bernina machine is, I'm new to Bernina, and my old machine, I think I put on the walking foot and then the regular foot, and I did nothing else. The new machine, Bernina, has so many wonderful feet, and I am constantly changing the feet. So I'm going to have him do something similar. This is just like a jewelry box that I got probably at Winners or HomeSense, but he's going to make a grid that fits right in here for me so I can store all the feet, which right now I mostly have in here and in there. Then this is going to be my embroidery thread drawers. So right now they're just free in there, but my husband is building something where it's basically a false bottom, and it has rotored circles that the thread will fit right into, so they won't, you know, drop over like that one just did. They'll all be lined up. I can arrange them by color, and I think that'll really work well. And all of these bottom drawers are filled with my threads for embroidery. I also love that I can look outside while I'm sewing. Here I have my Acufactum books, which are very, very special to me because we have a very special relationship with Acufactum. I have some favorite art on the walls, and these are not originals by any means. He's a very expensive artist, as he should be. He does wonderful work. So I bought greeting cards and I framed them. Then I have some collections of pin cushions, and these ones, like I have certain ones pins in them, and this one's for needles. And I use this. This is supposed to be for jewelry, but I just have it for my scissors. I have a small cutting mat here if I need it. Usually I will get up and cut on my cutting table, but if I need it, it's right here. Usually I have spread out my pieces for piecing. Then I have the wider Alex drawer unit that's on wheels. And in here we have things all organized, and it is so nice to be able to sit at the machine, just pivot, find what I need, and I have, you know, everything just in its spot. And these inserts are also from IKEA. So all my clips, I use these all the time. All my little bits, my needles, and more thread, and there's embroidery supplies, machine embroidery. There's so many things all down there, all my Bernina machine things that I need, and books and whatnot. So that's been great to have that. So let's take a look at the cutting table next. This was made by my husband many years ago, and it's a little worse for wear and needs to have a little bit of repair, but that happened when we built the studio. We temporarily moved this entire thing into the studio until he had time to build those cutting tables. Then we moved it back, and it's so incredibly heavy that we had some bumps and bangs along the way, but it's very sturdy. It's made with MDF, which is very, very heavy, but very solid. And I have everything organized, you know, baskets for everything. I still plan to put the new beautiful labels that Lillian has designed, to print those and label everything. But you can see I have everything in its place. I'm sure I'm not the only one with the rolling carts. So I have different things on them, things that it's just sort of you know, you have nowhere else to put them. This particular cart has all my stabilizers for my machine embroidery. I am very, very new to machine embroidery. I have done one thing in a class, learn how to use your machine class. Otherwise, I have done no machine embroidery, and I'm a little nervous to start, but I need to because I want to start making those Acufactum club or Acufactum embroidery projects. I have things that Tilda used to sell, wonderful things. She no longer sells them. She had things like clothespins and these ribbon racks. I have just neat little cubbies, and because I like to have everything organized, but also out where I can see it, where it makes me happy. And here I have, this is from HomeSense as well, which is the same as Home Goods if you're in the US. And it was for the like laundry room and for cleaning, but I thought it was great to hold rotary cutters, scissors, and such. Here's the one end of the cutting table. Again, various things, but they're all specifically categorized. Here as well, some extra fabric. And I have my wrapping paper in here because I also use my table as my wrapping area for birthdays, for Christmas. And that's a little apple basket full of extra ribbon. And this is on any given day what my cutting table looks like. All very much for specific things. I have everything laid out. The thing that I'm working on right now is a sofa station with this wonderful Tilda Sunday brunch. I have some pieces cut out, some new stitchery, which I'm loving. And, you know, various bolts and bits of things. I'm sure like all of you, you have all your supplies out. And here's where I keep most of my Tilda books. I have EPP pieces in that little suitcase, which is a sewing themed little suitcase from HomeSense. All my fig tree patterns. So now let's go. Oh, and I should mention that all of these tables are from IKEA. These ones are your standard desk tables where you purchase the legs separate. This one, because I needed something a lot more sturdy for that heavy machine, is actually a dining table. But like I said, it's reinforced. All of that's metal. It's very solid. I bought this cabinet very inexpensively at a secondhand store. All the drawers hold my embroidery supplies. And then these are just my special things. Mostly they're sewing related, but not everything. Little Westie figurines, because we love our Westie. A tool painted iron. So lots of neat little things in there. Another wonderful thing that Tilda used to sell, these tin storage boxes. And a lot of these little things I've purchased from different artists that I usually have found on Instagram. Let me open this here. Like this one too, so pretty. Buttons that used to be sold by Tilda. So just those special little things. Most of them were gifted to me. Some I found secondhand. Here's an embroidery that I made. I love bunnies, so there's a lot of bunny themed things. That's also why I chose the Bilecki bears being bunnies. She does other animals as well. And let's look at this area. So these are, I've opted for drawers as opposed to cupboards because drawers really hold a lot. And each drawer is specific for something. So these are for my wrapping supplies. So my gift bags, my tissue, that type of thing. In here I have different kits and different scraps that I have all labeled. This is for my Bernina machine. And these are for, not for sewing with these ribbons, but more for wrapping and for gifts. And I have just various things all stored in all of those little cubbies and compartments. I've repainted some of them, found other fun little containers. This one was from Michael's, put in some vintage buttons. So it's really a good combination of pretty, but also functional. This was a cupboard that my mom had for many years. I painted that, and I store all my big bulky things like batting. This was a dollhouse from when I was in grade 4 is when I received it. And it's been through, I carted that around with me. I moved out when I was 17. It's been to every university, every apartment, everywhere I've lived, I brought that. So it's kind of gotten broken and you know, it needs some repairs. So one day I'd like to redo part of it and repair it. And I have lots of quilts hanging out on the banister there. This is a bathroom, which is really nice to have up here. And here we have a vintage cupboard full of fabric. Tilda is on the bottom too. This is sort of a miscellaneous, and this is all fig tree. So yes, I'm a good collector of fabric. My husband and I wallpapered this wall. That was interesting because, as you can imagine, we have stairs there and it's very high up. So this is just giving you another look at the layout. It's not perfect, but I love it. This is a skirt that I made many, many years ago. It's kind of falling down. I plan to remake it with some really pretty Tilda fabric and put that up. And now there's a few things I'd like to show you in here. So this is just a little area that I can sit and have tea or relax or stitch in my chair. There's a few quilts that I've made. My stethoscope from when I was practicing veterinary medicine, little vintage finds, and this was my grandmother's antique sewing cupboard, more little vintage finds. This neat crocheted rug I purchased probably 15 years ago, but from a lady on Etsy. And then in here I have my treasured David Winter cottages. And I absolutely love them. I feel like I belong in one of these, live in one of these. And I hope to see, we're going to England this summer and we're going to the Cotswolds. So I have high hopes to see a thatched roof and an adorable English cottage. And the last thing to show you is this is an antique music cupboard, and that holds all my scrapbooking supplies. I do not do much scrapbooking at all, but I have some beautiful scrapbooking papers and some Tilda papers back from when she did that. And I made this from the Homemade and Happy Tilda book to hold some buttons. And like I said before, these are all tops to be quilted, and more drawers that go underneath this slanted ceiling to help with storage. So that is it. I absolutely love to see people's creative spaces, and I hope you enjoyed this little tour.